So in December last year, I made a video about how I budget my investment banking salary and bonus, and that's doing quite well, probably because people are quite nosy and everyone wants to know what people make and how they spend their money. So I thought it would be a good idea to actually break down how much I spent in February, just because when I was doing that initial video, I didn't account for every single expense. I more or less just approximated, and also I didn't actually look at the exact figures for something. So I actually think it would be a good idea to actually look at the exact figures, actually know how much I spent in February. This is my first time actually seeing the figure as well, so this is more or less like a live reaction. And before we continue, I think it would be a good idea to actually break down how I get the money I spend. So my main source of income is from my day job as an investment banking analyst. My second one is rental income I get from property I own in Lagos. My third one is from mentoring services, which I do to people in undergrad or even people doing a normal 9-to-5 job, and I'm mainly focused on career mentoring. And the last one is from selling digital products such as fitness plans or CVs or cover letters. So in February, I spent £17,409 and 18p, which honestly is quite shocking. If you asked me what it was before, I'd have probably said 5k, but spending 17k is quite it's quite interesting. But a caveat to this is I recently moved into a new apartment, so obviously I think a lot of this will be from furnishing, so hopefully that's the case. If not, I actually just wasted all my money. So if we go into, I'm going to split this into fixed expenses and variable expenses. So for fixed expenses, the total is £2,080, which is quite reasonable for what I make per month. So my highest fixed expense is my mortgage, which costs me £1,400 a month, which is quite reasonable. I think I'll probably do a video later on about how I actually did this mortgage, because I didn't go to a typical UK bank. I went to a Nigerian bank just so I could use some of the property I own in Lagos as collateral, so I didn't actually have to put up a large deposit. Well, I'll break that down in a future video. And then my next highest fixed expense is council tax, which if you live in London, you just hate paying because number one, the bin guys never come on time, the streets are still dirty. I actually don't know why I'm paying council tax because I actually don't see what my money is doing. It's like living in Lagos and you actually pay tax, like your money is going nowhere, it's going into the people's pockets. So electricity and water cost me £200, which I think is quite reasonable for what it is. And then traveling to work cost me £100. So because of my job, I'm able to work from home twice a week, which I think is a good medium. I'm not one of those people who would enjoy working from home all the time, just because when you're working in banking, you actually want to interact with people, you want to see clients, you want to see other stakeholders. I'm not a fan of just working from home continuously. Also, when you actually work from home, you work a lot more hours than you realize, because you don't have to go anywhere to get food or to get a coffee or to even take a walk. Literally, you just go upstairs, downstairs. Like for me, I go upstairs, get my food, back downstairs, eat my food on my desk. But at least if you're in the office, you have to catch up with someone or you have an excuse to walk around Canary Wharf aimlessly like I do sometimes. Hopefully, my manager's not watching this. But yeah, I think working from home 5 days a week is not ideal in my opinion. And then my Sky bill for the month is £115, which is quite high because when I initially joined Sky, they told me this would be £60, so I paid for both TV and broadband, and seeing that at 115 is quite shocking, to be honest. I think I probably have to call them after seeing this because that's too high. And I pay for a security service. I pay £50 a month, which for what it is actually quite good. And I'll actually be willing to increase that next month or whenever if needed. Just because London right now is not safe at all. It literally doesn't matter where you live. Southwest, Northwest, Central, even outside Harrods, they are robbing people and snatching their watches. So I'm sure you've all seen those videos on TikTok where people are literally getting their watches snatched. So honestly, paying £50 for a security service is actually very ideal. My total fixed expenses come to £2,080, which might be high to some people or low, but I think it's quite reasonable just because most of it, I think 70% of it is my mortgage, so is what it is. So if we move on to variable expenses, this is where it actually gets interesting. My highest variable expense for February was at Vanguard, where I spent £8,000, and that's just for investing in specific index funds. So Vanguard is a broker in the UK where you get to invest in specific index funds or ETFs. You can't do individual stocks on that platform. To do that, you have to use maybe Fidelity, Charles Schwab, or Trading 212 or Free Trade. But I use Vanguard for my ETFs and index funds because they're quite low cost. So when looking at a platform to invest in general, you want a low cost platform. You want a platform that has lower fees, because that way with a lower cost, that doesn't eat into your returns. And when you're also trying to invest. So my Vanguard, I bought just one index fund, which is more or less, I think, what you need for an index fund. When you want to invest in an index fund or ETF, or if you're considering two options, you want to either maximize the return or minimize the risk of volatility. If there are two index funds, A and B, and A returns 10%, B returns 8%, but A has a risk of, let's say, 6% and B has a risk of 6%, both have the same risk, so it only makes sense to invest in A, both as risky as each other, but A has a higher return. And for Vanguard, I spent £8,000 in February, which is money put to good use. I have a rule: money should only be used to, number one, make your life easier or to make more money. That's the rule I'm trying to follow in 2023. So that's my New Year resolution, as most people would say. Money should be used only to make your life easier or to make more money. But then under life easier, you can classify more or less anything: buying an Apple Watch, buying a Rolex, I mean. But you get the idea. So the next highest variable expense is at PayPal, where I spent £3,318, and that was mostly due to furniture I've been buying. So I've been buying a lot of furniture when moving in. Initially, when I moved in, I made a big mistake and went to IKEA, even though my girlfriend told me not to. I bought a TV stand and some stuff, and honestly, I bought this black TV stand, which initially looked good, and because it was floating, I wanted that floating TV console effect, and the doors to the TV stand kept on like opening, so I eventually replaced that with a TV stand from Numa, which I think is quite good. So I spent a lot of money on furniture in general, and also just buying random stuff you need for the house. You don't realize you need so much stuff when you move into a new place, but most of that on PayPal will be most of the furniture I've been buying. And then we actually go down to the next highest variable expense. That'll be a high yield savings account. I put £1,000 in there, and that's more or less for my emergency fund. So I think everyone should have an emergency fund they're building, and the key to emergency funds is you want it to earn a rate above the interest rate, so that way your money is actually not losing value over time. In this high yield savings account, my money is not earning above the interest rate, but I'm just putting it in there until I can actually decide what I want to do with it. So and my next highest variable expense is at Amazon, where I spend £945, which is kind of shocking, to be honest, just because I don't think I order a lot, but if I think about it, I order a lot of cable stuff, a lot of random stuff, a candle. I just order a lot of random stuff on Amazon. Everyone does. Also, actually, most of my groceries we bought on Amazon through the app, so because they can deliver if you spend less than £30 for free, I use Amazon to buy all my groceries, and to be fair, it's quite good quality. So I buy most of my chicken, even the turkey as well, from Amazon or Morrison's on the Amazon app. So a lot of that also be just groceries as well. So my next interesting expense is a delivery, where I spend £347, which is quite interesting. I just order the same stuff anyway. I get chips and chicken. I get Nando's, where I get like Five Guys when I was in cutting, because right now I'm cutting and it's horrible. So delivery £347. Hopefully that number reduces. Well, to be fair, this will actually be a lot lower than it was in the past, because now I'm on a strict diet. I can't afford to eat takeout too much, so this is actually quite low. The next one is £204 at Supplement Needs, which is the brand I use for all my intro workout and pre-workout. And honestly, if you go to the gym, I was one of those people before where I didn't believe in intro and pre-workout. It was probably like 2019 before I started training at King's Gym, and then when I got to that gym, everyone was literally on intro workout, pre-workout, and all the different kind of stuff, you get what I mean? So pre-workout is essential. Honestly, it's one of those things where you don't realize how useful it is until you start taking it. And if you're like me and you train in the morning before work, if you have a pre-workout like 6 a.m, when you get to work at like 9 a.m, 10 a.m, 11 a.m, whenever you get to work, that caffeine is still in your body, so that way you actually don't need a coffee when you get to work, because you're still on that high from the gym. So I think having a good pre-workout and intra-workout goes a long way. So the next very expensive was this desk tabletop I bought. So initially I had this great tabletop, which I had for like 2 years. I bought from Oakland Office, which I think is actually now not in commission. But this new one I got is a black desk tabletop, and I think it just fits the overall aesthetic for the office I'm going for. So it cost me £180. I think it's quite a good one. The one I got is like 160 by 80, so it's a good size as well. And I'm actually looking to get a smaller desk for my girlfriend. So if you have any ideas of good desk tabletops in the comments, let me know. And then the last one I'll mention is Black Sheep Coffee. I spend £97 and I get 2 coffees a day, so I'm more or less spending like £12 a day, which is not bad. Honestly, I just love coffee at this point, and what can I say, I just love coffee. I'm one of those people where I just drink it for fun. And I remember when I was staying with my aunt, and her husband had coffee, like he had coffee before bed. For me, I try and cut out coffee and all caffeine products before 3, because obviously caffeine has a half-life of 8 hours, so if you want to sleep by like 9 or 10, you can't have that coffee in your system. So I stopped coffee at 3, and I spend more or less £100 on coffee a month, which is that high or low? Let me know in the comments. I think a lot of people in Canary Wharf that work there will probably spend a lot more than me. And let's just say that number is actually quite reduced because I'm an analyst, and when I go for coffee, I usually go with like senior people and they buy the coffee. So that number should actually be like maybe £200 if you ask me. And the last thing I'll mention, my gym membership. So I spend £65 and I have 2 gym memberships, and that's just because I can't go to the one I really want to go to before work because it's too far. So I'll go to like a normal commercial one close by, and then on the weekend I have more time and I can actually train like a crazy person. I go to the hardcore old school bodybuilding gym and I just go all out. The weird thing about commercial gyms which I hate is when you lift heavy or when you actually try and exert any sort of effort, everyone just looks like you're crazy. But when I'm in my old school, dirty, iron slanging gym, I just do what I like and it feels good. So my total variable expenses for Feb came down to £15,306, which is crazy to think about. But if I remove the Vanguard, that'll be like what, more or less £7,000. Hopefully to drop by like March, April, May. I'm no longer buying a lot of furniture anymore. I'm done spending money on it. I don't care if I just live in an empty house because honestly, furniture is quite expensive. So hopefully that number drops, and let me know what you think in the comments. Is that a high number, low number? What expenses do you have?